From Mothers Against Drunk Driving, National Association of State Alcohol Drug Abuse Directors, and from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Steve has spearheaded and consulted such campaigns as ParentsEmpowered.org, Way to Quit, and several state and national prescription drug awareness campaigns. I'm sure you've seen his work. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Wright.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, what an honor to be on this stage. It's really hard to follow Dan Clark, let's be honest. That guy's been to space and he flies fighter jets. I mean, there's little that I can do that's going to top that. But to be part of this conference and to stand here and be part of this initiative to motivate parents in an effort to strengthen Utah families, that is amazing, okay? I am deeply honored, and I have to show my appreciation and my recognition for Mrs. Herbert. I've sat in many meetings with her discussing different strategies and approaches to this campaign, and it's hard-pressed to sit next to somebody who cares as much as Mrs. Herbert does about the parents and about the families all across Utah. So I show my great appreciation and say thank you for what you're doing here in the state of Utah. Now, I have to admit, when I was preparing to speak at this conference, I was sitting in my office at home, and I was typing up some notes, and my 5-year-old comes walking in. And he looks at me and he says, "Dad, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm preparing for a parenting conference." So I took the opportunity and I said to him, his name's Hudson, I said, "Hudson, tell me what makes a good dad." This is the words of a 5-year-old. He stops, he kind of looks at me, he scratches his chin, and he goes and sits on my couch, and I'm like, okay, he's dragging this out. This is going to be bad. And he looks at me and says, "Dad, they have to know how to make good Lego castles." So that's it. That's my advice to you tonight. You go home, you make Lego castles, and you're going to be set, okay? I've spent the last 12 years working on a project for the state of Utah aimed at reducing and eliminating underage drinking. And tonight, I've been asked to share a little bit about that project and what we can do as parents to better understand this issue and what we can do to combat the dangers and harmful effects of underage drinking. So I ask you today to listen to this message and find out what we can use in our own lives to take back and help set these clear rules to keep our kids alcohol free. So first of all, where are my grandparents in the room? Raise the hands. My grandparents. This is the group that doesn't hesitate to raise their hands. They're very proud to be grandparents because in their minds they think, I'm done. I made it. I made it. My kids are out of the house. I've moved on. I asked my dad when he became a grandparent, I said, "What's the greatest thing about this?" And he says, "You're not asking me for money anymore." I thought, that is the truth. Okay, next one. Where are my parents who have kids under the age of 5? Raise their hands here. This is the group that tiredly did this. I have a 2-month-old right here with my wife. She's sitting here rocking the baby seat as we talk tonight. This group, I did not realize when I became a parent that you give up all sleep, period. Nobody told me that. So we don't sleep anymore, okay? Where's my next group? Those who have teenagers at home. Where are you guys? These are the ones that are on their phones and they're like checking up on their kids, like, "What are you up to? Are you home yet? Because I told you to be home by now." They're probably over the corn maze waiting for the fireworks to go off, so we got to go join them soon, okay? This group, I'll be honest, I'm scared to join this group. All the challenges that these kids face, can I have my kids prepared for it? I don't know. Can I have them prepared to say no to underage drinking? I don't know. So I tell you, when I started this campaign, I sat down with a group of individuals here in the state of Utah, prevention and specialists, and I said to them, "You want to do what?" They said, "We want to eliminate underage drinking in Utah." And I got to tell you, I thought they were crazy. I said, we're Utah. We don't even have alcohol here. Why are we focusing on this? And they educated me. They shared with me a few facts that I want to share with you guys tonight to help me realize that underage drinking in Utah is a problem. And we have areas across Utah that rival those numbers of national cities. Okay? One of these they shared with me is they told me this right here. They said binge drinking in Utah begins as early as 6th grade. 6th grade. How old's a 6th grader? 11, 12 years old? One person's like 16. Yeah, sorry about that. They got held back a little bit. That's okay. 11, 12 years old. This is in Utah. Then they told me this. They said 31% of kids who said they had been drunk last year had parents who believed their children were non-drinkers. We're just not aware of what's happening. Then they told me this. 59% of Utah parents are unaware that 6th graders are drinking. And then they told me this. Kids drink to get drunk, which leads to alcohol killing more young people than any other drug. It's a serious issue. It's something we as a community need to change. And so we've accepted the goal here in Utah to eliminate underage drinking. Now, how do we do this? It's going to take all of us, every single person in this room, plus some, to truly drive down these numbers. We now know that alcohol can wire the teens' brains for addiction. The most compelling fact to move any parent to action is to know the impact that it's going to have on the developing teen brain. Because something magical is happening in our teenagers. There's 2 times that we go through rapid brain development in our lives. One's at birth, my little 2-month-old down here, still asleep, right? Okay, we're good, okay? And again during their teen years. So there was no way that we would ever hand a can of beer to a baby, an infant. We would not do the same thing to our teenagers because they're going through that same level of rapid brain development, as we'll find out in this video.
Good guy or a bad guy? Was he a hero or was he a villain? One reason he might be a hero.
You have 3 minutes to complete your midterm.
Underage drinking can interfere with a child's education, even when sober. New research shows alcohol can permanently impair memory and learning capabilities in a teen's developing brain. Know the facts. Visit parentsempowered.org.
Question for the audience. Let's try this. What percentage of kids who begin drinking before age 13 will be alcohol dependent? I just got an answer from Abby V&S, who's like sat next to me for 10 years. Thanks for spoiling it, Abby. 45%. Now, my next question, if you've worked with me in the last 10 years, you can't say anything. Jeez. All right, 45%. That's alarming. Heads or tails, your kid drinks before the age of 13, they're coming up alcohol dependent. That is a scary statistic. Let's try this one. What percent of teens who drink before age 15 will try other illicit drugs? Yell it out. 80, 90, 60, 70, 65 plus 2? 67. Our governor's good with math right here. 67%. All these other issues that surround us that threaten our kids can be eliminated if we can eliminate underage drinking. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, I have good kids. My kids won't experiment with underage drinking, either because of religious or moral beliefs or social boundaries or whatever those are. But I'm here to tell you, every kid will face this decision. And are they prepared to say no?
Not every kid will be perfect. Not every kid will make the team. Not every kid will stay healthy. Not every kid can get a 4.0. Not every kid will get asked to prom. But every kid will be faced with the decision to try alcohol. Is your kid prepared to say no?
Thanks, Mom and Dad, for always being there.
So a lot of times I show these commercials and I hear from parents, oh, that's great. My kid needs to see that. Okay, I'm not talking to your kids. I don't want to talk to your kids. I'm here to talk to parents, okay? We did a very interesting study. We sat down with a whole group of parents and we said, tell us, draw a picture of your child and then all the different influence in your kids' lives. And here's what Utah parents drew. They drew themselves, then their friends, then the teachers, the media, and they put themselves last on this list. Okay? As a Utah parent, I was disheartened with this information. So I kicked them all out of this room, and I pulled their kids together, and this is what their kids drew. They drew themselves, and then they drew their parents right next to them. Parents were the #1 reason why kids were going to say no to underage drinking.
You have good kids, and they have good friends. But in Utah, by the 8th grade, 1 in 4 kids have experimented with alcohol, and 1 in 10 are regular drinkers. Which means your kids are likely more exposed to alcohol than you think.
I've got more if you guys want one.
Even good kids need their parents' help to stay alcohol-free. To learn more, visit parentsempowered.org.
So here is a staple issue that we have to deal with as a community. This is not an issue for just parents. This is an issue for our entire communities. It's a community problem, so it needs all of our support. I'm not out there just protecting my kids from underage drinking. I'm out there protecting all of our kids. And the same goal is for all of us here. We collectively work together. Now, parents ask me, how do I do this? How do I keep my kids alcohol-free? And it comes down to 3 things, what I call the triple strength proven parental skills. Okay? Say it with me. Bonding, boundaries, and monitoring. Okay? This is what it comes down to. We want to bond with our kids, okay? We know research indicates that children are less likely to drink when their parents are involved in their lives, and when children and parents feel close to each other. Family conflict and lack of bonding increases the risk of drinking. Here's a really interesting finding. If we have dinner with our kids, or meals in general, 5 to 7 times a week, they are 33% less likely to get involved in underage drinking.
Why do we gather around the dinner table for life's important moments? It's the place where families come together, where stories are told and memories are made that last a lifetime. Dinner isn't just where food happens. It's where family happens. Research shows teens who regularly eat as a family are 33% less likely to use alcohol or illicit drugs.
When parents lead, kids succeed. For more information, visit upliftfamilies.org.
Okay, the next of these, once we bond with our kids, it's all about boundaries, establishing these rules. Now, growing up, one of the rules that was set for me when I was 16 years old is my dad said, well, you have a curfew. On weekends, I want you home before midnight. And so one time I'm out with my friends, and I look down at my watch like any 16-year-old, and I look down and I think, well, it's 12:05. I've got 10 more minutes. So I push it, right? And by the time 12:15 hits, I said, well, I better start heading home. And I jump in my car and I'm heading home. And you got to remember, I'm 16 years old, so I am smarter than my parents. And I get to our house, and we live at the bottom of this long hill, and I put the car in neutral, and I turn off the lights so I can roll into the driveway, and nobody can hear me coming. And I sneak in, and I tiptoe out. And it's a proven fact that if you're late, the door always squeaks when you open it. So I open up this door, and I hear this, and I peek in. And what do I see? Pitch black. I'm home free. So I close the door and I sneak around the corner of the living room and I walk in and I look over and I hear this. And here's my dad sitting on the couch in his bathrobe. And he looks good. And he looks at me and he's like, do you know what time it is? And I was like, my watch broke. How convenient. And he says, that's okay. And he reaches behind the couch and you know what he pulls out? He pulls out a snow shovel. And he says, because you're late, here's the snow shovel. You have to clean everybody's driveway before you go to bed tonight. And I lived in one of those big cul-de-sacs. So I went outside and I shoveled snow for hours. I think it was like 3 or 4 in the morning by the time I finished shoveling all my neighbors' driveways. I came inside, I was cold, I was wet, I was tired. I crashed in my bed. An hour later, my dad walks in with the snow shovel. And he says, hey, it snowed more. I was back out shoveling more snow. So my question to you guys, was I ever late again? Yes, I was late so often that my parents, my neighbors would line up and say, hey, be late. But the props I give to my dad is he was at the door with the snow shovel every single time I went out. And eventually, my 16-year-old brain matured, and I was able to make good choices and come home on time. These rules are super important to keeping our kids alcohol-free. They need to know what our clear rule is and our expectation.
Come on, it's just one drink.
Call me if there's alcohol. And because your brain is still developing, that's why you can't drink underage. So if you're ever offered alcohol,
I'll say no and call you to come pick me up.
Your child's future depends on the rules you set today.
The very last one I want to share with you guys, which may be one of the most important and one of the most challenging as Utah parents, is monitoring. We need to ensure our kids reside in an alcohol-free social environment, which is getting harder and harder than ever. We know that we have to live in this digital age. We need to keep up with them on their social media platforms, engage in their activities, and ensure that these kids understand that we are committed to keeping them alcohol-free. I have one more video I want to show you guys that helps stress this point, that monitoring can be such a vital part of our kids' lives in keeping them healthy and successful.
Dude, we should get wasted.
No, man. My mom's been totally on my back about that.
Oh, come on, dude. How is she gonna...
I can hear you, dude.
Keep on your kids about not drinking. Set clear no alcohol rules early.
Parents, this is the big picture. If a child can get through age 21 without smoking, abusing alcohol, or using illegal drugs, they are virtually certain never to do so. I know, committed collectively together, we can eliminate underage drinking. It's going to require all of us working together to change the social norm. And I'm committed, and I hope you too are committed to seeing the end of underage drinking in Utah. Thank you.